architectural houses being demolished due to negligence, whereas big blocks of flats and kids' hotels are being raised. It could be argued that since the dawn of modernity, humanity is in a situation of constant crisis. Today, we find ourselves amidst a nexus of crises: economic crisis, political crisis, ecological and anthropological crisis, when the human environment's very existence, its nature, the environment surrounding it, and the urban environment, which I will all include under social ecology, giving a meaning to social as well as the ecological, is threatened. The privatization of public space under the false identification of public and state transforms social geography and the public architecture of life. We are also witnessing the end of national politics under the grip of international networks of power, combined with a revival of nationalistic rhetoric as a means of manipulating populations. It's an almost existential crisis of significations, which we experience at the beginning of the 21st century, as a globalization of power and market mechanisms spreads the net of bureaucratic capitalism across the globe and stretches it to its limits, internally and externally. Internally, because the system weighs the requirement to provide a coherent meaning to the populations, deregulating the processes necessary for social cohesion, which also ensued, in a point, the psychical internalization of the meanings and the purposes of the system in the past. Externally, because the system itself, which was never actually controlled or regulated, is unable to fulfill both its general course, which is inherently irrational and irrational, namely the ultimate and unlimited dominance of rational control over nature. Both environmental and human. Besides this unlimited ambition, there is a distraction limit on the brink of which we are already working, blindfolded of natural disaster, ecological disaster, social disaster, and even nuclear disaster.
Excuse me, can you talk a little more slowly?
Yes. Excuse me. The whole range of nightmares and dystopias stand as potential realities. This and the visible aspect of the multifaceted crisis is the economic crisis. In 2008, we got bubble in the United States, a bubble whose creation, however, must be located at least in the 1970s. Crisis of the once strong North American trade unionism and the beginning of Reagan Thatcher's conservative counter-revolution. This counter-revolution was the triumph of unlimited growth, of closed interest groups that promoted the most predatory and aggressive worldview of capitalism, the extreme neoliberalism of the system. This meant the allocation by the state of economic regulation tools to the national private sector. At the same time, it meant the total annulment of public political life when the capital privatization of public space and time, strengthened by the private individual time, internalization of the significations of consumerism and market individualism, starting an age that Cornelius Castoriadis labeled the age of insignificance. Huge megacities smothered the urban public space within a network of commercial zones, and the basis of societal cohesion, the spirit of community, withered away. When community between people vanishes, the communal bond between nature and society is settled. The 20th century was marked by the rupture of the bubble and the violent overcoming of insignificance, with the implementation of neoliberal policies at supranational level, by the ascending of international financial organizations to a central decision-making level, the dissolution of local communities, and the expansion of the privatization of public space and time. But this attack is also met with successive revolts, the awakening of a universality of solidarity and resistance, the creation of communities, and the spreading of the concept of the commons via and beyond the internet, the breaking of the borders, and the dynamic practical quest for political democracy. Nothing ensures the development of social conflict, but certainly Social conflicts are now carried out at multiple levels and globally, while what is at stake is the future itself in the most comprehensive sense, the existence of a common future. Another crisis that has already begun with the dawn of industrial capitalism and the creation of the mass production machine is, of course, the environmental crisis, the ecological crisis, the effects of which are already evident in an emphatic way, although strong interests are trying to disguise it. It is now explicit and clear that the planet has natural limits, and already the degree of exploitation has exceeded the renewal capacities of various ecosystems. There is, of course, no need to argue here for what everyone knows and understands. Discipline is perturbation of natural processes, extreme meteorological phenomena, the mass extinction of species. Scientists have now attributed the name Anthropocene to a period beginning with the Industrial Revolution and extending to the undefined future, elevating modern human activity to the level of geological forces. These two types of crisis, economic and ecological, constitute a wider crisis of growth, in the sense that the imaginary signification of unlimited growth tends to make a desert of the human environment itself, and in the sense that this imaginary signification tends to dominate society itself, accelerating desertification in both the natural and the cultural dimension. However, the full implementation of the growth doctrine seems to be hindered by three main factors. First, the exhaustion of natural resources. Second, the collective resistances of societies and the psychic resistances of individuals. And third, the fundamental contradiction within capitalism itself, which tends to objectify people when it's based precisely on the exploitation of human ingenuity to function. To the extent that economic motivation of unlimited growth and profitability remains the predominant imaginary significance, the tension between the system's pursuits and the rapid self-destruction brought about by their achievement is at the same time a field of reproduction of the crisis. This privatization of every public space, which began under the false identification of the public and the state, changed the social geography and the public architecture of the city. The large capital cities were transformed into population meadows with energy costs greater than their own countries, while the inner space and time of the city is cut into three distinct and isolated zones, which hold among them outward conflicting relations. The mansions and the offices of the dominant elite, the impersonal volumes of small and medium-sized blocks of flats, and the ghetto jungles. A vast network of markets and malls divide and at the same time connect those isolated zones under the circulation of products. While the cities expand, public space and time, the foundations of community and the conditions of democracy are narrowing, leaving the cities hollow as an almost infinite set of private cells where communication replaces community. We live in the first period in history when the urban population overcomes the rural, but the city, as a political and social entity and unity, is being dismantled. It is rebuilt into a set of segregated functions, both in public space and in public time. Likewise, private time is sliced into distinct occupations defined by production or consumption, and the individual is transformed into a cluster of functions. Also, the emergence of the internet and the expansion of social media have brought a new field of projection and reconstruction of the public and personal identity with infinite possibilities. The digital person, at the same time fragmentary, but also a multiplicity of representations of the natural person, highlights new problems in the relationship of the individual with himself, society, and the natural world. It offers a worldwide potential for reflection, projection, and the recreation of personal preferences and views, which is, however, completely decorporealized and virtual. On the one hand, it seems to provide the material for a deeper individual fragmentation and isolation. But on the other hand, the internet, as a means of direct and simultaneous global communication, has also proved to have liberating capabilities, disseminating knowledge, socializing restraint, communicating social struggles, bringing societies together, abolishing censorship, abolishing ethnic and cultural exclusions. It has become both a tool for widespread solidarity and the emergence of a new social movement, as well as an instrument of widespread control. So, the abandonment by the state, not only of market regulations, but also of its social functions and services, virtually deprives it of any social root. As a result, while we still have a dominant national propaganda in all fields, from entertainment to politics, the real strength of the nation state is declining. This transformation of the nation state into an scale and executive tool, where political decision making and the preservation of the external order is attributed to supranational organizations, includes a further fluidization of the borders as the distinction between the interior and the exterior liquidates while war fronts multiply. The very form of modern warfare and anti-terrorist campaigns create new areas and new borders within the cities, within societies, beyond borders. Modern economic exploitation of the natural and human resources creates vertical borders, forming within the city's autonomous zones, interconnected exclusively by external economic terms. At the same time, the shaking of the metaphysical national identity shakes the policies of representation, revealing again the existing divide of interests, sentiments, and significations between the society and the state. The recent Trumpian degradation of US politics signifies something by pointing out the nothing. What's happening is that a series of certainties that inform the dominant modern worldview have collapsed. Together, a series of false obsessions collapses again. It's a false distinction between the lonely person and the impersonal society, which is practically abolished by the contemporary collectivities, who are aware of the closeness of one another to others, and co-shape the collective history by seeking individual freedom within social autonomy. It is also the false identification of the state with power, the principle that someone else will always decide for us, which is actually challenged by the efforts of local direct democracy, autonomous networks, and communities that are now seeking forms of self-government. And they face the most violent repression with the most powerful means in the most fierce world struggle in history. That as we experience the decline of the national, locality is linked with globality. We are now both local and global. Everything that happens locally is projected globally. Globally is diffused locally. There's no more detached places. As the social history coincides and expresses human action and human relation, we can see that on the opposite side, against every manifestation of crisis and collapse, open, new meanings emerge, the values of solidarity and community are revived on a wider scale and in a most radical political context. So, we find the crisis of the metaphysics of nation manifested as a crisis of representation and identity, with a revival of nationalistic rhetoric. Against this, social movements are organized in terms of direct democracy, global solidarity, and communication. Global networks of solidarity challenge the validity of official borders, and local nodes of free social spaces and free collectives challenge the jurisdiction. So, where the apathy and technicalization of the political state institutions becomes evident, we see the emergence of a politics of freedom through movements unrelated to traditional trade unions or parties, not seeking the implementation of a ready-made plan of another society, but creating a new open field, a new free public space and time, setting a new relation towards the environment and nature. And it's the opening of this field that will allow the members of society to decide for themselves about their lives, formulating, as Zakranskier might say, another world and another history, a world and a history of emancipation. Movements that emerged redefine private and public relations in the sense that they create a free public space which does not belong to private capital nor to the state, and a free public time of social interaction and political decision, as the Nuit debout movement symbolically expressed by the creation of a prolonged march. The social background of modern human existence, the urban landscape of the megacities, is a problem in itself. Our modern city is not an ancient democratic polis, but as Aristotle would say, a Babylon. Modern collectivities create within this urban network new free social spaces, like for example Necropolis, that can become seeds of new forms of life, but their existence that threatens the dominant paradigm faces tremendous pressure in relationship with the broader society. New collectivities must create institutions of education and communication, institutions with cohesive political activity on a wider socio-historic. Free spaces are forms that already go beyond collegiality by the action of which they are firstly created. Perhaps, and as we conclude, schematically designate the political time of such activities into 4 moments: These all involve and presuppose a public conflict with establishment powers. The first moment, when the collectivity opens up to society, involves the initial creation of a broader social environment within the city. It is the first limit of this moment. If this limit is not overcome through connecting with a broader society, beyond collegiality, the spaces become self-referential and sooner or later collapse internally. If this limit is exceeded, then we pass on to the next moment, which can only happen within society, meaning beyond the collective, since the activity of the collective exceeds the collectivity itself. It involves the co-creation of networks of solidarity, communication, and resistance, local, regional, and global. A limited public space and time of communication, and a limited public space and time of political decision. The opening of free public space presupposes a break with state and capitalist mechanisms. This is the first step. The second step would be explicit self-determination, institution building through direct democracy and public deliberation to realize autonomy in terms of social functions and a complete rupture with the state. This is self-determination if we consider the self-sufficient local network that is not subject to state or capitalist jurisdiction and taxation. It expresses a fundamental division between free communities and the state, but is still not an autonomous society. It means the establishment and the creation of a complete free public space and time of free communication, but a limited public space and time of political decision. For social autonomy to be actually realized, society must have the full potential of creating its central institutions, namely politics, justice, education, in a democratic and egalitarian manner. Establish existing laws with explicit public deliberation, with the acknowledgement of common areas and areas of the commons, with the establishment of a direct democracy and another relationship with the environment. This presupposes the abolishment of the state and the subordination of economy to social autonomy. It also means establishing a complete public space and time of free communication and a complete public space and time of political decision and activity. This is the challenge that communities and societies face today under the threat of disaster, but it remains, as always, an open future for societies to create. Thank you. I hope
Okay. Thank you, Alessandro. So, next speaker is Federico. Yes. Yes. You sit here?
No, just here.
Yes. Present yourself and where you're from.
Yes. Just turn on the phone so I can check my time. So,
You can check it for you if you want.
so I am Federico Venturini. I am from Udine in Italy, and I lived for a long time in Leeds. And I worked at the University of Leeds, where I did a PhD in geography, human geography, with a research on urban social movements in Latin America through the lens of social ecology. So I never had so long time for my presentation, so I think that will be quite a journey for all of us, especially after lunch. So I would like to make a bit of bond with all you all. So I would like to have your attention for at least 30 seconds at the beginning. And I will ask you to close your eyes. Close your eyes. Take 2 long. Stay with the eyes closed. Now you can smile. And now we can start. So it will be a very theoretical presentation, and it's the first time that I will present this part of my PhD, and I hope to stimulate some debate, as you say. So the title, Reconceptualizing the Right to the City and Spatial Justice Through Social Ecology. Or I added another concept because I said, I have so much time, so not just about the right to the city, but add something else like spatial justice, why not? So today I will speak, my presentation is divided in three parts. The first two, I will introduce the concept of right to the city, special justice, and then I will try to combine and show that there is an interconnection between the two concepts. And then I will use the social ecology to reconceptualize the concept of citizenship, justice, and freedom. And finally, the meat, the most interesting part, reconceptualizing the city and spatial justice through social ecology. And as I said, it's very theoretical, maybe very boring, no images in the presentation, and a lot of quotes. So the first part, the right to city. That has been introduced by Leon Weber, I had the reference 1968, someone else said 1967, but it's how it has been defined as a cry and a demand. Okay, this is what we have. It's not a framework, but it's a cry and demand that has been used by urban social movements all around the globe. It has not been defined very well by Lefebvre, as we also heard this morning. I picked a different quote from him, complemented by the right to difference and right to information, and concretize and make more practical the rights of citizen as a urban dweller and user of multiple services. So as we say in this quote, there is the right to the city, other kind of rights, and the concept of citizen and citizenship. We'll come back to that later. David Harvey more recently added a new definition. The right to the city is the freedom to make and remake our city and ourselves, something that we heard also this morning. And this possibility for people to shape our city is also linked with the concept of self-management, what has been called autogestion. So other author that said that this call for right is a very unifying call and can help to unite diverse and particular struggle into large and more powerful movements. And so said that, we can say that this concept of right to the city is vague, but at the same time also radical. We already saw that this concept has been co-opted by state agencies, by UN, and NGO, and so on. They are trying to create these urban charters that we heard talking this morning. And this has been controversial for some authors. Like, for example, Margit Meyer, one of the authors of the incredible book, Cities for People Not for Profit, said that these urban charters are problematic because who is not in the list is somehow excluded, even if with all the attempt that we try to imply everyone inside. At the same time, these charters don't acknowledge class and power division. And third, the demands for rights as enumerated merely target particular aspects of neoliberal policy. And so, in this way, the right to the city becomes the right to a better, more human life in the context of the capitalist city, capitalist society, and on the basis of reformed and improved representative democracy. So, the right to the city is the right to full and equal enjoyment of the resources and services concentrated in cities. And my question is this enough? So let's go to a second concept that has been used, that we can hear many times by urban social movement or social movement in general. You can say justice in our neighborhood. We want justice. We want justice for this, we want justice for that. So it's a concept that has been used many times in mobilizing people. The origin of Western concept has been in the ancient Greece and has been a very strong link with the formation of citizenship and direct democracy. I know that it's very critical to speak about the democracy here in risk to. Well, let's skip that. So with the creation of the nation state, the idea of justice has been conceptualized as provided by the state and not as part of concept of citizenship. Has been at this junction. However, the idea of justice cannot only be linked to the justice administered by the state. Case, if we disjunct that, it can assume a broader meaning of just or fair link to the qualities of a just society: freedom, liberty, equality, democracy, civil rights. They go beyond class, race, and gender. Justice can go beyond class, race, and gender. And we can say that using justice and injustice, we can say that economic inequalities and injustice are a produce of capitalist underdevelopment. So there are two concepts. First, spatial justice as an analytical tool to analyze current urban crisis. So we can say where there is injustice that can cast new light on the process through which such a spatial injustice is reproduced, perpetuated, and sometimes aggravated in our times. Spatial justice can be used as a positive affirmation. A focus on the affirmation of spatial justice can help reveal the spatial practices by means of which protagonists of such a spatial change, like social movements, are challenging injustice, trying to build alternatives. Can we smile? Good. So let's say the common ground between these two concepts. First of all, there are links somehow. The just city, the justice city, is presuppose equity, distribution of resources, and democratic control towards the full implementation of the right to the city. And the right to the city and spatial justice thus go hand in hand toward the construction of just city. So, as you can see, there is a link between right to the city and justice, spatial justice. The requisite affirmation of spatial justice and right to the city are a demand for fulfillment of humans in the urban environment. In their negation, they are also deeply connected. Spatial injustice is the negation of the right to the city, and vice versa. They both go beyond race, gender, and class, and can help mobilize people. Are linked to the concept of citizenship. Concept of citizenship that I will go back later, that however is a very multifaceted idea that is being theorized and framed in a different way in different national or judicial context. Let's skip. So let's try to introduce the concept of social ecology. So I will be the first speaker that try to have a very deep discussion on social ecology. So I hope that will be enough clear, and something is not clear, please don't hesitate to ask, or to me, or maybe to other key speakers like Brian or Dan or someone else that is very knowledge on social ecology. So the difference, social ecology is not a crime demand, it's a theory. Stuff, but it's a theory. In this theory, the key has been more reproduction. And in the many things he wrote, he was always very suspicious to use the concept of rights. I mean, he wrote very little, but he wrote something. And he said that rights are human construction and need to be based on objective assumptions. When based on freedom or self-consciousness, it would better be called norms or ethical standard which people would ultimately want to achieve. The concept of freedom of domination are the key concept of social ecology. So everything tries to refer to this concept. So they're moving to rights to norm in order to link that to freedom. The rights on two different levels. On very basic level is defined as a kind of system based on rights and duties. Rights today represent a crucial stage of social development with the move from the uncertainty of tribal times to the introduction of a justice system based on law. In this case, rights represent the achievement of popular struggles and they have to preserve and defend them. And then there is another layer that sometimes Bush referred to. That is at the cost of the ecology project. Going beyond the contemporary citizenship within a depersonalized formal system of rights and duties. This is the aim of such ecology. Go beyond the depersonalized formal system of rights and duties. An active citizenship is linked to the final expression of freedom and domination. Citizenship can be conceived as a direct action that expresses itself in the practice of direct democracy, in the possibility to make decisions for one's own community. Again, we can hear an echo from Right to the City. Very quote, the first one. So, and here we are speaking about citizenship. The Italian notion of arete, the daily practice of paideia, and the institutional structure of polis were synthesized into an idea of citizenship that the individual tried to realize as a form of self-expression, not an obligatory burden of self-denial. Citizenship became an ethos, a creative art, indeed, a civic code, rather than a main body of duties and a palliative body of. And this is some critique to the concept of right, and here there is some thoughts about the concept of justice. Unlike justice, which works with the pretension that all are equal in theory, despite their many differences, in fact, freedom makes no pretense that all are equals, but tries to compensate for the inequalities that occur with age, physical infirmity, and different abilities. To assume that everyone is equal is patently preposterous if they are regarded as equal in strength, intellect, training, experience, talent, disposition, and opportunities. Such equality scoffs at reality and denies the commonality and solidarity of the community by subverting its responsibility to compensate for differences between individuals. So there is a move from the concept of right to the concept of justice to the concept of freedom and domination. Bookchin agrees with the Marxist formulation of from each according to their ability to each according to their needs. And if this is true, if this is implemented, in opposition to bourgeois right, with its claim of the equality of all, is the connection to the right and justice, freedom, abandoning of right as such. And here is the part. Capitalizing the right to the city and special justice through social ecology. So Foutopoulos, that for many people has been, for a certain period of his life, quite close to social ecology, we can see that there are two different traditions. First is rooted in a liberal conception of freedom, define activity as the absence of constraint of human activity. These rights are also defined in a negative way as a freedom from being to limit state power. And then there is a second meaning connected to the socialist tradition, opposing the liberal one, and affirm instead social equality, mainly in the form of an equitable participation in the production and distribution of the social product, achieved through state intervention. These rights are therefore collective in the sense that they belong more to the community or whole societies rather than to individuals. However, he finds that in these two conceptions there are two limitations. First, they are grounded on the reductionist idea that the political and economic spheres are always separated, missing an holistic approach to human rights, or missing a holistic approach that social ecology can offer on the concept of domination and freedom. Second, both forms of rights make sense only in a static form of government and presuppose the existence of political and economic power concentrating in the hands of elites. A non-static type of democracy, which by definition involves the equal sharing of power, these rights become meaningless. So the question is, in our future society, are we still speaking about the right? Are we still speaking about justice? Are we still speaking about the right to the city or something else? A step back and speak about social ecology, a definition that has been made by Brian Morris, that is here with us today. Social ecology is as a project aimed to outline a philosophy of dialectical naturalism to describe the contours of natural and social evolution, particularly the emergence of hierarchy and all forms of domination, an in-depth analysis of contemporary social and ecological problems, and finally, to present a radical utopian vision of an alternative ecological society. Very nice. The only thing that I'm asking you is to focus on a concept here, philosophy of dialectical naturalism. In social ecology, there is this idea to form a philosophy starting from nature, and we can say that nature can provide a matrix for ethics. And I'm saying this very fast and with very few words. So what happens when we start to use dialectical naturalism on today's right to the city, on today's spatial justice? So dialectical naturalism develops reconstructive ethics that challenge the root of domination and pose the basis for a realizable ecological utopia toward the affirmation of freedom over domination. So in specific case, we can use dialectical naturalism in order to, if certain rights or certain project for justice or other concept or project are ethical. And how can we do that? We can see if this concept, this project, these rights are helping to foster three concepts that has been identified in the tradition of social ecology are something that are crucial that we can build in our society starting from experiencing the nature. Mutualism, differentiation, and development. We can use these three concepts, apply to the right to the city, specific right to the city, or so on, and let's say if these are helpful for the creation of a free and ecological society. In this way, putting this question, social ecology is able to broaden the discussion around those terms and put them at the service of radical social change. Right to the city and spatial justice assume real value only when they paired with the concept of domination and power. So we can also add maybe some class analysis. The concept of domination allows a moralistic vision of social issues and urban crisis. Social ecology, highlighting the link among all forms of domination, first calls for the coordination of different struggles that urban social movements pursue in order to reinforce them, not just a separated campaign. Second, highlights the need to focus on change that is broader and more fundamental. The concept of fighting against those forms of domination towards freedom developed in social ecology can be taken as a unified concept that includes an amplified agenda of both right to the city and spatial justice for the construction of an active citizenship. Conclusion is finished, and this is the hope for the future. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Federico. And let's see if I find back. Yeah. No, I don't know. Yes. The next presenter will be Metin Govin, but unfortunately he has a bad throat and cannot speak. So Emmet will read his presentation.
Question is belong to Metin.
And can you say something about Metin presenting them?
It would be good to introduce him himself.
Come up.
Yeah.
So we can see you.
Yeah, just. You can introduce yourself.
I'm one of the founders of social ecology group in Turkey during mid-1990s, and since then I have been participating in different social ecology groups in Australia and the United States, and now I'm here.
Metin also has contributed some social ecology perspective community in New Zealand. So he has forgotten to mention that. His title is "Do We Need a Theory of State?" It's a bit complex text, hopefully some interesting terms. Hopefully I can keep your attention for a while, but if you don't understand any words, just keep notes and ask to him, because it's a quite complex text. I will try to explore what kind of transformation period we are going through first. Then I will try to explain why I think we would understand the outcome of that transformation better if we develop a state theory. So focus is state theory, whether we need a state theory. Adding my addition. 14 years ago, the Iraq War was on the agenda. Neocons of the US were planning to take over Iraq, establish a friendly government there, and access cheap oil to stop the decline of the US economy. Within a few years, it became a debacle. Iraqi resistance increased the cost of the war to trillions of dollars. It also caused the collapse of the US hegemony project. In 2006, neocons left all positions in the US government. The US was in so much debt that she hasn't been in a position to start another war since then. Actually, the decline of the US state started in 1970s. Because of the Vietnam War was an important turning point. Some relief was provided by neoliberalism and monetary policies during the late 1980s, as well as new economy and financial expansion in 1990s. However, they couldn't prevent the 2001 recession. The US succeeded in attracting capital flow, but manufacturing in the US was too costly and profit rates were too low. Investment went to new technologies, but the expected consumption was not realized. The recession of 2008 and 9 was worse, and the next recession could be the worst, as income and wealth imbalances are still at a historical peak. If we look at the decline of the US in a historical perspective, it seems inevitable. Giovanni Arrighi explains the cycles of capitalist accumulation. Quote, recurrent system-wide financial expansions appear to return. New rounds of intercapitalist competition. Interstate rivalries, accumulation by disposition, and production of space on an ever-increasing scale revolutionized the geography and mode of operation of world capitalism, as well as its relationship with imperialistic practices. Thus, if we focus on the containers of power that have housed the headquarters of the leading capitalist agencies, of successful cycles of accumulation. We immediately see a progression from a city-state and cosmopolitan business diaspora, the GENICS, to a proto-national state, and its joint stock chartered companies, to a multinational state, the United Kingdom, and its globe and circling tributary empire, to a continent-sized national state, the US, and its world-encompassing system of transnational corporations and institutions of world governance. Quote is from Giovanni Arrighi. The book is Adam Smith in Beijing, in 2007, published. Continuing the argument, 100 the world was in a transition. At that time, the UK, as global leader of capitalism, was in decline. In the UK was not profitable. Capital was flowing to the US for a higher profit. The US economy was already the largest in the world. The UK economy, as the US economy, has been financialized in these years. Period, including 2 world wars, brought the end of UK leadership. For the US, a similar period started with Iraq War. But most importantly, there will not be another war, since the US doesn't seem to be able to reduce her foreign debt and for another war. Also, other opportunities to start a war between rivals seems very difficult. However, the US global leadership either has already ended or it will end in the near future, depending on how that leadership is defined. There are many possibilities for the next period. It is a new world system with strong global actors, including US, EU, China, and India. But among these powers, China might have much more power than others. The Chinese economy became the largest economy based on purchasing power parity. It's expected to be the largest in nominal prices during next decade, and China is expected to be #1 in wealth during 2030s, when India's economy is expected to catch up to the size of the US economy. Natural disasters cause widespread misery. People may have assumed that he has lost the mandate. Sorry, yeah. I thought, yeah, it's getting short. If we witness another big recession due to the current financial bubble, it may also mean the end of liberal capitalism. According to Forbes, currently, 4 of the top 10 global corporations are Chinese state banks. During the recent recession, China and India were affected the least, even though they promote capitalist development in manufacturing and service sectors. They regulate and control their finance sector by state banks. Chinese bureaucracies have maintained a tradition of controlling development and preventing it if they think it could be a threat to Chinese economy and 1,000 years. On the other hand, elites of Western countries started realizing that they don't benefit from globalization. They may start implementing a reverse of globalization by restricting imports and other state interventions. They might be forced to implement measures such as universal basic income to reduce social tension as well. In short, there is a high probability that states play a more crucial role to maintain current domination systems. States may become the main driving force to change the balance of different systems in favor of themselves. I think the concept of the heritage of domination will be useful in relationships between different domination systems. During the 19th century, revolutionary thinkers tried to explain social relationships based on class domination. These relationships at that time. And all other types of social domination and the idea of domination over nature became critical to understanding social conditions in the 20th century. Social ecology provided a framework to explain how the legacy of nation freedom played their roles in history and humanity into the current social and ecological crisis. However, since capitalism and Western powers were so dominant in determining social changes during the 20th century, the focus was mostly on capitalism, even though social ecology advocates to hierarchies and all types of domination to create a free society. We may need to change that focus to the state in near future if state domination becomes more prevailing over capitalism. So far, social theories concentrated on European states, which were formed during cycles of capitalist accumulation with strong allegiance to merchants and bankers. These states became capitalist nation states at the end of those state-making processes. States all over the world have been formed in a variety of ways during decolonization in the 20th century. Also, cultural differences make more crucial differences in the evolution of the state in different countries. If we compare the oldest civilizations, states emerged first in Mesopotamia and Egypt, more than 5,000 years ago. These two civilizations had hierarchical social structures, living remnants of big temples and houses. However, there is no evidence that similar buildings have been constructed during Indus Valley civilization, despite the fact that they built larger cities with better design and more advanced water and sewage systems. Archaeologists haven't yet found any evidence of kings or military organizations or indications of a hierarchical social organization in Indus Valley civilization. Scholars suggest that it could have been a democratic society, even though their writings haven't been deciphered. It seems The state hasn't emerged in India as a result of internal social dynamics, but just imposed by outsiders, namely Aryan invaders. People of India accepted imposed institutions, but the influence of their civilization could be of different forms, such as Jainism or Buddhism against Hindu religion and the class system. The evolution of the state in China is very different too. It seems that states emerged during the second millennium with a gap of more than 1,000 years, with all the states different characteristics. The first kings presented themselves as God or representing God to legitimize their power in China. A king or emperor for a mandate of